Welcome to Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk with your host, C.J. Reynolds.
That abruptly, we are back with bloodshot eyes. Because that's how, because it's been break, man. Hell yeah. That was a weird noise. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Sunday Night Teacher Talk, the first Sunday Night Teacher Talk of the 2022 year, which is pretty exciting. So we've been doing this for 5 seasons now, and seasons are just like years. They start over in July for us, and so the idea hatched to do this from like, what can we do? What can we put out into the world? I actually want to change my microphone real quick. What can we do? What can we put out into the world that is going to be beneficial to teachers and help them to be better when they go into school on Monday? Like, what could we practically do? I hope my sound is working now. Jake will be more happy with me if this is set up like this. So we started doing this, and it's been a blast. I love doing it every week. And that's that. So I'm going to stop yammering on about nothing. All you need to know, if this is your first time here, is that what we were trying to do here is help you to be the educator that you were called to be, the educator that you dreamed of being. And that, especially in these last couple of years, is particularly difficult. So we're trying to figure out ways together to do that, because we all believe here that teaching is a communal activity, that there are people in the comment section here that I think people in the comment section just show up because they want to be in the comment section. It's not even because of me. And that's fine, because this isn't the Reynolds show. Really, it is a time and space for us to meet together, to help one another, to grow and have a great year. So with that being said, I'm doing a little something coming up. I'm going to put it in the comments now. And oddly enough, there's my partner there, Noelle. Noelle and I are leading. Sorry, you know how I am with multitasking. I can do like literally one thing at a time. We're doing a workshop on. I can even throw this John up here on Saturday, January 22nd, which is coming up at 11 a.m. on prioritizing the you in us. And so what that means is that, look, we thought we were going to do this earlier in the year, but we really thought in talking about this, that creating a workshop that's completely free, right? HMH is putting this on, that creating a workshop that is at the right time of the year is so crucial. And around January 22nd, I'm not trying to mess anybody up here. I'm not trying to mess anybody up that's a brand new teacher and you're feeling great. You had a great break and all that stuff. But like, things get real when you go back. Like, we're now virtual until the 18th. So things get real when you come back, and some of that energy you're feeling now wears off. The good thing is we can do things together to help build that energy up and to make it something that's sustainable by giving you actual practical ways in which to thrive for the rest of the year. So we thought we'll do it on a Saturday. It's only an hour and a half. It doesn't cost you anything. You do have to sign up though. And so if you go right to that link, you can sign up for free. You can get your school to sign up, get your PLC to sign up, get your principal to have people sign up. And we're going to walk you through ways to help you really thrive at this part of the year. So that's our goal. And yeah, thanks to HMH for putting this on, because it means that it doesn't cost anybody anything. And so, yeah, that's the deal.
I'm going to start with some questions.
I'm going to start with some questions, girl. I'm feeling good. Let's go.
All right. Fired up. Laura, our good friend Laura, is asking or saying, hey, Reynolds, hope you are on the mend and that you were able to relax and find inner peace over vacation. What goals have you set for yourself, personal and teaching, in 2020?
Let me tell you something, Laura. You must know me a little bit. I love goals. I love goals so much that I literally do a couple of things every year where I look through all of my lists, which are now more digital than they used to be. Here are all the things that I wanted to do last year. Where did I hit? Where did I miss? Where can I fix? Where can I just get rid of stuff? Because some goals are just like not interesting to me anymore. I look through my whole camera roll on my phone and just feel like go through like a process of like being grateful for all of the things that have come this year. A lot of people had a really difficult 2021, and in a lot of ways our 2021 was difficult too, but and really sitting with the year overall, I mean, it has just been blessing after blessing after blessing. It's just been really incredible. So that's one of my processes that I have, where I just kind of like really sit with what I want to do this year, look back at what it was I'm so grateful for from last year, to get myself ready for the new year. So for this year, I was able to find some peace over break. I had COVID and I was locked in my bedroom for like a week. Dude, I don't sit still for very long ever. And so I was locked in my room for a week, right? About a week. And sorry, I didn't realize you were going to put food in your mouth as soon as I asked that. But and I just could watch TV. That's all I did, is just watch TV. And so that was really rejuvenating to me. Like to do that level of nothing. And although I felt like crap, it was like, no, I don't have to do anything. And it's like the perfect excuse to not do anything, the perfect reason to not do anything. So coming out of that, some things I'm thinking about for this year is there's some financial stuff I want to handle and some plans I want to make financially, and really have, like, without going into it too much, like have my finances like on lock, like have a plan, have a really clear understanding of where my money is going and what I want it to go towards and what we want to build and what we want to save and how we want to bless people, like have a really firm understanding of that going into this next year. I think that we've decided to do a date night every Friday. So every Friday without fail, Friday always feels like extra credit, right? Like how you spend your Saturday and Sunday, you can beat yourself up about that, but I never beat myself up about how I spend my Friday night. It just feels like extra credit to me. So every Friday night, we're going to do a date night or a night with a date with friends. And so that's something that we're going to implement this year that I think is going to really pour into us as a couple. And then I think is going to be able to help us be better versions of ourselves. I'm starting therapy this year. I've been to therapy before, but it's been a minute. And so it just took a really long time to find someone. So that's something that I'm really looking into this year. And there's a couple other things I can get to in a second, but the theme for this year, right? Like our like family theme this year is joy. I want to push towards an immense feeling of joy. There's a lot that happens in school. There's a lot that happens in life that's really difficult. But I think that when you are living out of this place of joy, it makes everything else easier to deal with, which is why I'm always saying, like, I'd rather go into school feeling on an 11 personally with a lesson plan that looks like a 6 than have the vice versa. Because you can make anything great if you're on an 11. You can handle problems. Kids don't bother you as much. Angry parent emails, you feel like you can handle them. Like someone's snarky comment just kind of rolls right off your shoulders, because you're just like, you're living in the joy. You're living in the magic and the energy. And so what can we do this year to cultivate, actually design a plan that's going to bring more joy to our family. And so that's what a lot of these things are. So I'm also, my other 3 weird things are to do more self-care things. Like I've been doing floats a lot this year and sensory deprivation tanks recently, massages, those things where they put me in that freeze my ass off chamber. So things like that are self-care. I'm also going to run 2 triathlons, and then I'm going to, which I have no business doing. So I don't want anyone to hear that and be like, oh, Reynolds, he's so fit. No, I have no business running a triathlon, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to learn to play 1 song on the piano, and then I'm going to play it in public at a piano that looks lonely. That's a whole nother story.
Whoa, I haven't heard that one yet. All right.
You're going to come.
Yeah.
What if you laid on the top of it and sang a song?
Come on, get the hell out of here. Now you just made me curse. Okay. Our next question comes from Into the Past with Miss B. First year AP and world history teacher with a family and a side hustle. How do you make sure you get your lesson plans, grading, prep done inside school hours.
All right. So first of all, can we just note that that is a great name for a history teacher? Because it sounds like you're going on an adventure. I have to be very organized with my time. I live and die by the calendar. Everything that I do in school, nothing is, even if it's goofing around, I do goofing around and silliness with a very clear understanding of what is going, what I'm not doing, so that I can enjoy that, right? So I say no to a lot of things. So that's the first thing, is what I'm going to put on my calendar has to be something that's important to me. Derek Sivers has a quote where he says, when someone asks me to do something, if my initial reaction isn't hell yeah, then I don't do it. So my answer is either hell yes or no. That's how I run my life. And that's how I run school. So I used to do all kinds of extra stuff just because I felt like I should do it, or someone needed help, or it was, it would look good or whatever. I don't say yes to anything anymore unless it's a hell yeah. So cutting out all that extra stuff leaves you with a lot of time. I also spend a lot of time by myself. So in watching me on YouTube, you might think that I'm just constantly banging with kids and talking to people and hanging out in school. I'm not. I find quiet, somewhat dark locations in my school to just sit there. I've scared many people in my school because I'll be sitting like in a corner in an unused office in the dark because no one thinks that you're in there, and I just get work done. And so it's like, and then I have like Monday at 8 a.m. when I walk into school, they're around 7:30. I organize my stuff. I wipe things down in my classroom. Then I grab what I need that I'm going to work on. And then I go up to the college office and I hide in this little dark place. I plan out what I'm going to put my things together for the week. I've actually been doing that on Sunday too. I've actually been sitting on Sundays and putting together just my PowerPoint for the week. And that really, like, I don't usually work on the weekends, but that 45 minutes makes me feel so much clearer on Monday morning that I can go in and then execute those things on Monday morning. Tuesday at 8 o'clock, I grade stuff. Wednesday, I work on lesson plans for the following week with my co-teacher. So it's like every single thing is planned out to a T. It's all on my Google Calendar. And when you build in that sort of rhythm, then, because I like this, my friend Alex Hajitani says his family doesn't run on routine, it runs on rhythms. And I like that because there's room for movement there, but largely it's that rhythm that gets me through and then clears up the space. And then I typically have every 8th period off. I have a prep that period, and I just use it mostly to just meet up with friends at school and to be silly and to do fun stuff. So yeah, that's part of how I get that done.
All right, our next question comes from Alyssa. I just obtained my career switcher license. I was planning on looking for my first teaching job this summer, but found out recently I'm pregnant with my first child. I'm worried about having, I did not prepare. I didn't know it was a two-parter.
Didn't prepare?
Oh.
Diapers.
I'm worried about having a new baby in June and starting a new career in July, especially with everything that's going on. Any advice on waiting it out versus going for it?
So I'll do my best male version of answering this question. The reason I say that is that I just don't like, I'm at an interesting place in my life where like I just realized that I just can't understand certain things. I'm not going to get it, right? And so I think like parenting was interesting when we started, but you stayed home with our kids and I went to work, and so I know what that partnership looked like. For me, I think it's about this, Alyssa. I think people that have parents that teach are let into the secret that school's not the most important thing, and it shouldn't be the most important thing. Your family should be the most important thing. So for us, even in our lives, my hierarchy is God. It is then my relationship with myself, then my relationship with my wife, then my relationship with my kids, then my relationship with friends and school and all that other stuff. That is like literally my hierarchy. And the reason for that is that if my connection with God isn't strong, isn't something that is strong in any given moment, then everything else falls by the wayside. If my relationship with myself, I'm not pouring into myself, loving myself, caring for myself, then how can I give to my wife? My wife lives off of the overflow of my love for myself. And then my kids live off the overflow of the love that I have for my wife. So I think that it's really remembering that it's home first, it's baby first, it's marriage first. I think it's like a permission sometimes that teachers need to know that they can love themselves and love their family. I think that if you were to do it, my plan would be similar to the last question. It is being present where your feet are. It's being where your feet are, right? So it's when you're at school as much as possible. I miss my kids dearly, especially after like a winter break, and then I go back to school like on a Monday. I like really miss my kids. And so my wife I can like call in the middle of the day and stuff, but like it's more difficult with kids. And I know we're going to hang out at night and then they're just going to go on video games at night or something like that. I think it's being really clear about your time. I think that it is borrowing ideas, lesson plans, stuff as much as you possibly can and not recreating the wheel. And then just, it's hard. I'd say the hardest thing really is the sleep factor. It's really hard to be a good teacher on a lack of sleep. And I remember like, man, when our kids would wake up in the middle of the night and then I will say that I had students that were very empathetic to that. And I'd be like, yo, we're not even playing today. Like Brody was up at 3:00 in the morning, didn't go back to sleep. They're like, oh, yo, my bad, Reynolds, my bad. I got you. And then it was like, all right, I don't know how that works, but those are some things I'd keep in mind. I'd have make friends too, like make friends that are going to be able to help you through this time, and help to ease the burden. Like, don't try and be super mom and super teacher. Like, do a good job. And I think that's okay. I think that's like, maybe get some HelloFresh instead of making dinner from scratch every night or something like, or,
I was going to say, I think you can do both. I think there's pros and cons to both of them.
Yeah.
But I would just reiterate as a mom, those moments they go by fast and they don't last forever. You don't get them again.
Yeah.
So take that into account. I know that there's obviously always financial things to take into account too. But
that's a good point though. Like that time with your little one goes quickly. I think the other flip side of that though is also, when I say like be where your feet are, it's really
right. So
it's really being there in the moment.
Right.
When you are with your little one, when you are with your husband,
you're not
when you
stuck on a phone and multitasking and all those.
You're
and
just
that stuff easily
pulling
sneaks
that in
to everybody, to all of us.
Because people will say that like, oh, you work too much or you're not home enough. But it's like, but when you are home, what does that quality of time look like with your kids? Because you can be home, but your kids are playing video games. Right. You know what I mean? Or they're outside playing, or they're not engaged with you. Right. What does that actual engagement time look like? How deep is that connection? That's always been, I think, important to us.
Right. I think that's especially important when you do a lot of things. And so if you're a new mom and you're a new teacher, it's like you really have to and teaching, I think, can just eat you up in general. Like people allow it to.
They allow it to, right? It doesn't have to, but it's learning how to say no to things.
But that's
hard.
And
to be honest, having a baby is the best damn excuse in the world for saying no to anybody about anything. Like if you don't want to go to the in-laws anymore on Christmas, it's just like, hey, the baby's teething. It's like the perfect excuse out of damn near everything in your life.
Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Babies are great excuses. That's our takeaway.
Miss Gonzalez is asking, first of all, Happy New Year. Second, what suggestions do you have for getting back in the swing of things this year with the kids? We will not be virtual.
So, I think that it's just where I'm sitting with things right now is that, look, school is just always hard. It's just always, it's like being a parent. It's just like having a good marriage. It's just like having 6-pack abs, right? Which I don't have, and I don't know that I ever did, but I've had 2 in there one time. It's hard work, but when we can find joy, then I think that it makes everything else easier to do, and it makes it more enjoyable, right? Like, duh. So, and that was a duh to me, but like
how do we get back into the swing of things? How can we enjoy what we're doing, right? So like, it's really, I think, looking at the things that drain us, that drain our energy, and looking at the things that give us energy. And sometimes out of obligation, we do the things that drain our energy more. And I think it's about trying to up the giving energy piece, right? So like, what gives you energy? Like, I love speaking with my students, just hanging out with my students, just talking with my kids. It like gives me life. I love talking to my friends at school that are fun. I don't like talking to people that are a drag. Everybody goes through stuff. I'm talking about people that are a perpetual drag forever. For me, it's like going back into school and thinking like, what do I wish a teacher had done on the first day back from winter break when I was younger? Do I want to just launch into a new lesson and be told that we're going to have a test on Friday? And it's like, oh, that doesn't sound fun. Or do I accept the fact that like, not everybody had a great winter break? Not everyone got something for Christmas. Not everybody got something they wanted for Christmas. Some people's families were split up, and this is the first time taking other people's hurt into consideration, and then going into the new year with a heart that is open to the fact that like not everyone had a great winter break. But how can we make this place a place of safety, a place of peace, a place of joy, just by virtue of you being here? I'm just happy to see you. So I think the first thing to move into is like, how are we creating that space in our classrooms? And one of those things is like, look, how can I just show up and like, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Like here we are, we're in 2022. We get to be together. We're going to finish this year out strong. We're in the second half of it. And I don't care how anybody else came back. I came back excited. I'm just choosing excitement. So it turns out that like you can be excited just by deciding to be excited. And so you just make that mental shift. You can have more energy just by pretending that you're energetic. You will get more energy from it, I promise. So I think that it's getting excited, because then you start looking at things as opportunities. Then you start looking at tasks as things that like, oh, how can we get this done? How can we do this? How can we do this? And I just think that that's a really fun thing to do. So, and there's a lot of ways to do that. I think being mindful of how your room smells, what the music looks like, what the lights look like. How are you interacting with kids as they're coming in? Are you scurrying around and trying to finish things up and everything's all crazy? Or are you like just making kids the focus and having fun?
So is that your answer to? She said that's what she's most concerned about, is the kids who had a sucky Christmas.
And the best thing to come back to is a hug. And I'm getting real into hugs this year. I've been away from hugs because of COVID. I'm getting back into hugs because I don't think you get
You're feeling brave because you had COVID.
I had COVID. I'm gonna get the booster, and now I'm just feeling like, I just thought that the other, like I hugged a kid at school the other day, and it had been so long since I hugged anyone, and he had really bad news. He had his brother was in a really terrible car accident, and he's going to be all right, by the way. But like, to just give like a good hug, yeah, I don't come from huggers, man.
Oh, I
my people are not the huggers. We're like handshaking, maybe like a pat on the back situation. I want to get good at hugging.
All right.
That's my New Year's resolution. I just made it up right now.
It's a good one. Dayla Classroom is checking in with us, and he's asking, I'm struggling with students cursing in class. How do you go about the issue if explaining why it's inappropriate doesn't work? What kind of consequences, if any, do you use?
So this is a huge problem in my class. I typically, look, this is one of those, you have to be sensitive. I'm not sure what your school's like. I'm not sure what your population is like, what the rules are like. I a lot of times say things back to kids. So if someone says like, yo, we have an F in test, I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to say, and I say the word like, hey, we're not allowed to say the F word in class, like, and I say it. But I don't want to get demonetized, so I won't say here. And they're always just like, what? I go, yeah, I was going to make a poster and like put it on the wall, but it was like weird. Like I didn't feel like I should have to say that. If a kid says a phrase, I do the same thing back, but I say it like it's the most square thing ever. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. You're not allowed to say that someone can do this to you, or they're going to do this to your mom, or say this word. And it always catches kids off where they're just like, you can't say that. I'm like, I was just repeating what you said. I didn't want it to get lost in the sauce here. I wanted to be very clear about the words we're not allowed to say. Now we could put them on the wall, but again, it's weird. And then your parents come in. Another thing I do is say, hey, listen, we're not allowed to do that. Here's why. we had this conversation already. Let me just let you know that the next step has to be a phone call home, right? And so what that phone call is going to look like, it's going to be weird, man. Hey, we were in class and your son or daughter said this, and I asked them not to say it. We had a whole talk about why not to say it, but they just continue to do it. I was hoping you could have a conversation with them. Like, what does that look like when mom had to get that embarrassing phone call because you said this absurd or rude thing? And I think letting them know, which, by the way, side note, ADD brain, no one does this for phones anymore. All my students do this.
They
Bro,
do?
what the shit is this? What is this?
That's so
This looks
funny.
like you're about
I
to
feel
get
like
smacked in the face.
Was that in a movie or like something that they referenced? It was hilarious.
Was it?
I remember.
Maybe, because they
someone
all do,
referring them.
like, because I'll be like this. I'll be like,
hilarious.
if I have to call your mom, and then I'm like, wait a minute. No one knows. No one knows what
That
this
is
is. Are you
hilarious.
using a banana, Reynolds? What do you have, a flip phone? What happened to that thing? You flip. So I'm gonna call your mom. I'm gonna put my AirPod in. Hello. So sometimes it's that, like, mere saying, if I have to call home, here's what that phone call is going to sound like, and then saying what you would say on the phone call. That sometimes alleviates it also, because nobody wants that phone call home. What you got, dude?
All right. Our next question is coming from Troll His Life. Hey, Reynolds, I'm a first-year sped ed economics teacher. I love my coworkers and my students, but my admin team is very hands-off and inexperienced in my district as a whole. Any advice?
Man, I'm living that life right now. So it's difficult when you don't have the backup. So I think you need to create the backup then. You can't look for the help otherwise. And I think we forget sometimes how much power we have to be leaders. I think all teachers are leaders. And I think, what John Maxwell would say about leaders is that leadership, all leadership is influence. So you are creating influence. So you can do that with teachers that are in your building. You can help students circle around one another and support one another. And I've had classes like that where I felt like leadership was completely off the rails. So it's like, we're just going to live in this little insular bubble. We're going to call room 106. And like, this is the jam. This is what we do every day. And we create this world in here like it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. And so you can do that with students rallying around one another or around a cause, or around a class, and letting them know, like, we're going to make something special here that's unlike any other class in the school. And kids will buy into that if you really push that. Getting teachers in your school, even if it's a very small few. So I have a handful of people that I really, really get down with on any given year. And it's about trying to figure out ways to make school awesome, and like sharing stories and laughing and spending time together. It's creating that environment too with those folks. And then when that doesn't work, look, one of the things that's really, really put on my plate, even in the last couple of weeks, is that how many people are out there that I only know virtually, right? So like, the people that my wife and I have gotten to know through this virtual experience, people I've never actually met in my life, and how good of friends they have been to us. Or other people that I just see, like I've seen folks like I've interacted with people like real quick, and I'm like, why am I friends with that person? Like, they're awesome. And so it's looking, maybe it's in our Facebook group, maybe it's in other Facebook groups that you're in, maybe it's in, wherever that is, but it's finding those people. Jim Rohn says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so finding the people to spend time with, I think that we can't look, I'll say this. As a kid that grew up without a dad from the age of 4, right? So I had a stepfather, but that was a tricky situation. My dad died when I was 4. I could never replace my dad, but I was always looking for that fatherly energy from anywhere that I could get it. So if I had a friend whose dad was awesome, I would like ask a lot of questions, or it really helped. Like, I loved when they affirmed me. I would like had certain uncles or cousins that like I would just look for that energy from. And the idea here is, maybe we can't create a new admin, but where can we get that energy from? Where can we get that advice from? Where can we get that support from? And we create that world ourselves. I think you'd be really surprised at the amount of power that you have to be able to do something like that. And I think we forget that sometimes. What you got, buddy?
Oh, me? I'm next.
It's you're up.
Yeah. All right. Our next question comes from John Fox. As a white teacher who primarily teaches Black and Brown students, what are some of the most important things you've learned over the years about how to best relate and to serve them?
That is such a great
We could have
question.
one whole episode just on that.
One, I've even changed my language, John, around this idea of service, and into like being. And sometimes, look, I know some people get tricked up because a lot of talk around race seems trite. It seems like semantics, but I think that there's some value. I think, look, one of the things, even in entering into this conversation, I've learned is to listen more than I talk, and to ask questions and to be curious. So if someone says like, well, why don't you say service? That's so dumb. Like, it's like, well, maybe, but why do you think that that's dumb? I'm curious, like why you would say that. So it's like me entering into things with curiosity all the time, and real curiosity, not like passive aggressive curiosity, which is something that I lean towards oftentimes. It is being in community with people and trying to be a part of the community and create, like, be an active, loving participant in this community in which I work, not just the school, but being a part of the community. I think that's one of the things. The other thing is that communal piece, again, it is beyond my classroom, beyond my school. So it's really having a sense of like, where are my students coming from? What, I say that if you're going to teach in West Philadelphia, I think two of the best places that you can really get to know students is by going to a barbershop and going to a church. Like, I think these are real like activities that people should engage in. It's going to give you a real sense of like, what are folks talking about? How do they communicate with one another? What's important? Where do you place value? And what you're really doing is you're doing this work that is going to inform your practice in the classroom. It's going to inform how you teach, how you talk to people. And you don't necessarily like going to the barbershop and then emulating that in your classroom, but it is giving you a deeper sense of the people in which you are working with, instead of having an idea of what you think that is. Because I think a lot of teachers that teach inner city, especially, or teach somewhere that's like Title I or it's a particularly difficult neighborhood. Like there's like a neighborhood I teach in is very violent, especially recently. Folks like helicopter in and then they helicopter out. And so I think it's about really having a sense of where you're like that particular neighborhood. Now I say that on purpose because like I teach all Black and brown students in West Philadelphia. If I taught all Black and brown students in Missouri, that's going to be a way different thing. I can't just think like Black and brown is Black and brown. It is where you teach is going to be much, much different than anywhere else. Now there are some shared, some like common things that are going to come up, but like for the most part, I think that people, like if I taught in New Orleans, it's going to be much different than if I taught at a school that looked the same in Vancouver, right? So, and then I think it is to the best of your ability to really know that, like, it's really looking at stereotypes. Like, I can't tell you how many times people have come into my school to do a practice lesson and they've taught it through hip hop. It's like, not all Black kids like hip hop. And like, as a matter of fact, if there was a common theme right now, I'd say anime is the thing that is happening in my school that really is bringing kids together and really like because there was a whole conversation in class the other day about who's better, Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Katy Perry, or Adele, on a number of different facets. This is all my boys from West Philadelphia. This is what they're talking about. Yo, Reynolds, come back here. Yo, real quick. This is how Jennings sounds. Like, he's always like, yo, Reynolds, yo, come here, real quick. Yo, hit based on just the hits, Rihanna or Katy Perry. And it was like, are we really having this conversation? Yeah, but like, if you come in with the stereotype, then you're not going to think that. You're going to think all your Black and brown kids do all the things Black and brown kids do. And I read a book and I saw a movie and I watched, I watched Sherlock Compton, and now I think I know everything that's going on. It's knowing that the folks that you're teaching are individuals, that they come from all different backgrounds. They are sharing. There are things that they love. There are things that they're afraid of. There are things that they aspire to that are different for every single kid. And so it's about digging deep and getting to know students, building those relationships, that's going to be the thing that is going to inform your practice and make you a better teacher, more than I think anything else.
Our next question, when I can find it, is coming from Zoe.
Cool. Take your time, wife.
Oh. Noelle asked, how do you select your therapist? I find the right person for you is so important. I want to start again.
I think that
I think that's a hard thing to find.
Noelle Morse is asking
Yeah,
that. So what's up, buddy? For me, finding the right therapist is about, one, not being afraid to say no to someone. So it's like going on a date. Like, I know in the first 5 minutes if this is going to work out or not. Like, I once went to a therapist's office and I was trying it out. And this can be so aggravating too, right? You just want to find someone. I went to an office and the waiting room was a mess. There were hundreds of magazines on this table. All of the furniture was old and beat up and gross looking. It wasn't just like, I don't need it to be bougie, but it was like it was gnarly looking in there. And then I went in their office and it was kind of like that. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like you look like your life's not together. It'd be like taking teaching advice from someone whose classroom is a hot disaster of mess. And so it's about, I think, that intuitive piece, I think, is so important. And I think recommendations. I'm not like, the way I found a therapist is by going to people that I knew were in therapy and saying, hey, is this making you a better person? Are you becoming a better version of yourself? And if someone says, yes, my therapist is great, can I have their number? Like, I'm not, instead of like because there was a time when that would have been like really embarrassing to me, but it's like, no, if I'm looking for a plumber, what do? You ask for recommendations. You ask a friend. I'm looking for a good therapist. I need plumbing on my soul done, plumbing work. And so like, I just asked somebody and I went to someone that I really loved, I really admire, that I think is really trying to do really good work on themselves and in the world. And sure enough, it turns out, look, I think that this is interesting to me. And this is something that I'm really thinking about a lot lately. If things are working for other people, I should and they're making them happy, maybe I should look into those things, right? It's like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what do you do that makes you happy? And then if they say it, it's like, I'll just give it that shot because I'm trying to be happy. So yeah, so that's how I found my current therapist. And I knew it in 5 minutes. I knew that like the way they asked questions, the way that they were on time, and then they said like, they asked me a few things and then their follow-up of like, hey, here's how I'm going to roll this is like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I know I need. And so that's how I'm going to do it.
All right. Our next question comes from Zoe, asking, I got accepted into a training program to help me become head of the department. What is the best thing a head of department can offer?
Oh my gosh. It's all about leadership and it's all about your influence. And I think that when we lead people, I think it's about figuring out how certain people need to be led. So like, just like in your classroom, right? Not every kid gets the same kind of affirmation, gets the same kind of discipline, gets the same kind of help on something. Some kids I go, here's the thing we're doing. You good? Cool. Bet. Go do it. Okay. We need to work together. Like I'm going to sit with you and we're going to walk through this. Some people need to be, and I'm not saying to do this with adults, but like some folks can see that they didn't do a particularly good job and you need them to step it up and you be like, bro, the last time, you know what I mean? Like, can we up that game a little bit? And they're, I got you, Reynolds, no problem. Other kids, it's like, I need to sit down and have what my friend Sarah calls a heavy, deep, and real, which is like, we're going to have the most real conversation ever because I know you are capable of more than this. And I see something that's going on. It's working through that. I think, thinking about things like, and I won't go on real long about this, but like, always entering into, even if someone did something you didn't like, you don't think they're pulling their weight, you don't think they're doing a good enough job, entering into those conversations with curiosity rather than anger or just like, I'm going to bring it down. I'm not going right to the heavy, deep, and real. The heavy, deep, and real even starts with, here's what I'm noticing. And I'm just wondering what's going on because everybody's fighting a battle that we know nothing about. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk with students or with employees, even with their own company, where like stuff is just, it's hard, man. They're going through something that's really hard and it's affecting their work. And so it's about figuring out that particular conversation and helping people to navigate that, I think shows love. And I think that building relationships based on love, or with love, get you to a better place, because people want to do good work for you then, right? You're becoming an inspiring leader that people want to do good work on. And the last thing I would say is John Maxwell has this idea of of the lid, right? You can only be as good. Your team can only be as good as you are. So you need to be the best version of yourself. You need to constantly be growing and changing and developing and becoming the most optimized version of yourself, so that, because you are the lid, you can only go that high. So the more you raise that mark, the stronger your team is going to get.
I feel like this would be a good one to talk to, although it's not really a question.
Sure.
She said, hello, I'm having a hard time getting my head in the game. My dad just died.
Oh.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
me.
Let's do it. Heather, I'm really sorry to hear that. I've lost both my parents. I lost my father-in-law a couple of years ago suddenly. Both my parents were like a long, horrific, drawn-out process. My father-in-law was just like woke up one morning, had a heart attack, and gone. I think there is nothing that makes that, you can't hurry that process. It is a process. It's a painful process. I think that there's a lot of love and growth and beauty that comes out of it too. Like if we put the work in, but it's really putting the work in. And there's no fast track. The shortcut is the work. And so what that is going through the grief, the pain, the sadness. It's looking at all the pictures, watching the videos. And then for me, it's giving yourself time and space to do that over and over and over and over again. We started, I mean, it became something that was funny after my mom died. You remember, like, we got so tired of crying because your eyes start hurting. Here's a life skill, everyone. About the shit you already know what I'm about to say.
I do.
Here's how you handle this situation. When you're tired of crying because it makes your eyes hurt, and just the thought of touching it with the tissue hurts, you go like this, right? I'm telling you, I'm literally sharing this with you.
I cannot even believe you're doing this.
If you do this, my brother figured out. My brother has all these weird things he figures out. The tears don't actually touch the bottom. I guess they just like go down into your face because they don't bounce off the bottom eyelid and then go down your cheek. So the neck, look, my whole family, like when someone dies, we're just like this. Oh my God, I'm so tired of crying. We'll all be standing there like in public.
We're sitting around the table and people just start.
No shame in our game. You don't care. Everyone just does it. Oh my God. Oh. And it makes you like, you still cry, but I don't know, it just goes in your mouth. I don't really know what happened. I don't know where they go.
You don't want more saliva.
Yeah. But it is allowing yourself to do that. It's not apologizing for it. And it's like, don't let your friends hurry you up either, because there's this thing that happens after someone dies where like all the food and all the love and all the cards show up. A week later, it's crickets and no one knows how to even be around you anymore. And it's not feeling bad for that one friggin' bit. You feel sad for as long as you need to feel sad for. For me, I'm still sad, and my dad died 2 years. Took me 10 years. 2 years ago, I know. 10 years till it was like, and not to make anyone feel bad or like, oh my God, 10 friggin' years. I was also 22. Right. Yeah. So, you know, and my 30s were very 30-ish.
Comment, even reading it before, like finding it, like made me start to even just tear up because it's your dad. Yeah. And so it's, I think, going through that process and doing that with someone. Maybe you need to get grief counseling. Maybe you need to go see a therapist. Maybe you need to do something, but you're pouring into yourself and you're letting yourself feel all the feelings. And there's a couple of videos on our channel that you talk even more in depth
about
this,
how to
like
deal with loss.
Sad or
for like because look, we have to keep showing up, and life still happens. People die. You get depressed. People have postpartum. You go through a bad relationship, you go through a bad marriage, you go through a divorce, you know, someone dies, like shit is still real. Stuff really still happens. And so it's not running away from that thing, but actually leaning into it And I'll tell you this. Let me end on this, on just this question or this point. I never am glad that my mom died, or glad that my father died, or glad that I went through something hard. Never glad. Like it just sucks. I still am like, I am still sad that I don't have parents in my life and haven't had for a very long time. But the gift that I was given, and it's not a trade-off. It's not, I'm glad I had this and then I got this thing. The trade-off, though, is that I think you get a level of empathy that just no one else can give unless you've lost a parent. It's like, so when someone says, hey, my parent died, you will immediately be able to love that person on a level and be helpful on a level that nobody else can, because it's going to freak everybody else out. And so there are gifts that come with this. Now, they're not gifts that you, like I said, it's not about like, I'm glad my dad died and now I have this gift. It still sucks. But it's like, only through that level of hurt are you able to, your days are different. The way you raise your kids is different. The way you interact with people that are going through loss or someone that's sick is different. It's deeper. And it's the only way you can get it. So it's about looking at that beauty too. And that might take a minute till you see that, but it will absolutely happen.
All right, our next question comes from Sarah Lee. And I also just want to note, I saw earlier she is asking for prayers and thoughts for, she is in the community, the school district that she works for is in the community with the Colorado fires.
Oh,
and so
got it.
That's a hardship for the school and all the people involved there. So her question is, I'm sure you have answered this many times before, but what qualities do you possess that make you so great at teaching?
I will say this, Sarah. One, I'm sorry to hear about that. Like, we rarely watch the news and that popped up on my radar. I am, so you're in our thoughts and our prayers. I think, like anybody else, I'm going to admit this first. My head immediately goes to the things that I'm not good at, the things I suck at, the things I like. I'm constantly like, people are like, Reynolds, seriously, again, could you please answer your email, hand in your lesson plans, show up to like stop leaving meetings because you hate them. There's a lot of things I'm not good at. My head goes there, but things that I am good at, I think it's making things relatable. It's connecting what my students are really interested in to what we're learning and being able to say like, hey, the Odyssey is basically just Harry Potter. Like it's basically just, an anime that my kids are real into right now. So Naruto is one that they're always into. Dragon Ball Z. There's this other one, Lupin the third, something like that. I don't know. But it is digging enough, I don't have to go whole hog, right? That's a weird expression. I don't even know what the hell that means. You don't have to go like, it just makes me think of Deliverance, which is horrifying. But it's not, you don't have to go like full tilt into the world of your students. You don't have to like learn every friggin' song by every artist that they like, but it is digging enough to be able to connect it to what you're doing to make it relatable. I think that's one of them. I think building relationships is absolutely like my thing that I'm the best at, that I feel like I can literally go anywhere and build relationships with any kid in any awkward, like the most awkward kids. I just have a skill set that I'm not even sure is all learned. I think it's like a gift that I'm able to do that. And I'm not, it's not just about being silly. I think a lot of us are silly. It's being unafraid to look like a jackass in public. Like one of the things I love saying to my wife, because it's just a good reminder to me, this is no shade to my wife, but when you say to me like, but what's someone going to think? Or you can't say it like that way because you're going to think this way. Or you're going to think this way.
Nobody knows that. It's like I have such social anxiety, like that I deal with. So for me, when you say that, I'm just like, it just messes with my brain.
I literally go like this. I don't give a shit. Like every single time, that's my answer. It's like I don't
hate
care.
That answer, but it's probably the best one for me to hear.
But I don't. But look, you have a million great things about you too. Yeah. So it's like, so take a loss sometimes. But it is really like one of the things I've learned to love about myself is my real on so many levels, right? It's a shadow side and a light side. There's a part of me that really loves being loved and really loves being liked. And I don't like when I get nasty comments on YouTube or in real life. But there's another part of me that just like, I don't care. Like, I'm doing this. I know what my mission is and I'm after it. I think that those three things are probably my favorite.
All right. Our next question is a two-parter. It's coming from
Do it.
Thomas. He's asking, I have finished my job as a substitute for another music teacher who has been on parental leave. So now I have another job, and the terms to work there are based on teaching both language and music. Which is my only...
Which I think is...
okay. Which is my only subject. Teaching just one subject was not an option. So any tips and advice on dealing with a subject without any experience?
Yeah, so that's a tricky one. I've not been in exactly that scenario, but I have been put into like a grade level, right? Like, I mean, look, it's so funny. People think you're so great at English because you're an English teacher, but it's like I've been teaching 9th grade English for 16 years, right? I haven't taught research papers in a minute. So it's like if I had to go teach a research writing class, that would be, there's a lot of learning. I think some of the things I think I would put into play if I was in your situation is one, learning how to learn, right? So like finding best practices to help kids learn how to learn. It's not just subject matter, but it's like retention. It's how are you staying organized? How are you, so if it's a language, how are you memorizing things? How are you putting them into practice? And so I think that's part of it. Like, to me, it seems like learning a language you could just do with Babbel now or something like that, or Rosetta Stone or something like that. But so there's that piece, there's the informational piece, right? Like we're going to convey this information to students, but then I would be thinking about what are we doing with this now, right? So it's all about, to me, if I was going to learn another language, I'm not just thinking about, yeah, I can learn the words, but in what can we create scenarios in class where we're going to like, all right, we're role playing, or we're creating video content that has something to do with role playing, or we're creating visuals around the room that are going to lock things in. I've been thinking a lot about constant errors and mistakes that students make throughout their high school and into their college career, like little things, right? So like kids don't know how to use a semicolon. No kid in the world knows how to spell definitely. They all screw it up all the time. So like, how can I create things, or kids that can't spell beautiful? That's another word that's just constantly messed up. What if I got a handful of those things together? This is actually a thing I'm working on right now, that are constant mistakes that I see, that I'm going to create this activity or this moment or this project for students that they will never, ever, ever misspell these words again. They'll understand 100%, like the difference between there, and there. No matter if you're dyslexic, no matter if you have a processing disorder, I'm going to ingrain this in your brain in this very specific and special way that you'll never forget it. I think it's looking for opportunities like that. And I think the other thing is borrowing from other teachers. Talk to other teachers, see what they're teaching, see how they're teaching it. Don't be afraid to take all their stuff and then sprinkle your own magic on top of it. Because I think teachers try to recreate the wheel too much. Like, the cake is the cake. Don't figure out a new way to make a cake. Find someone that makes a really good cake and then figure out how are you going to serve it up? What's that tray going to look like? What's the icing going to look like? Are there candles involved? What's the whole atmosphere around the cake? Is your table a hot mess of disaster in front of you? Or is it like looked cool and we got the right plates and the right silverware? It's all about how you're serving that up too. It's not just about the content. It's about how you sprinkle a magic on top of that thing. That's some of what I do and what I would do. And I think that's something that gets you excited too, right? Like, you're stoked that this is like, oh, how can we serve this up now? How can we make this an experience? That's what I would practice doing. What you got, bud?
Our next question comes from Paloma. Reynolds, where are the mini hands from your Insta? Where are they from?
Oh, you mean this entire thing of
from?
mini hands over here? Amazon. So any of my,
Five Below, aren't they?
you can get them on Amazon. Five Below has the most weird stuff. They have Five Below.
No, Kohl's. Kohl's during Christmas time has
They do
like
have a lot of
such
weird
a weird
stuff.
section of like stocking stuffers and like weird gifts. It's like in the men's department. It's the best section. It is where I find most of
That's
the
where my
weird
megaphone came
stuff.
from too.
And the hands-on.
Yeah, Kohl's is a good one, or Five Below is a really good store. They have a very small section of very weird stuff, and I just buy it when I see it, and then the hands are just endlessly. So for those of you that don't know, what I do is I don't have sleeves on right now, but I'll put these in my sleeve, and then they're hilarious. You can just hold them like this. You can give tiny mini high fives. You can give kids, like, you didn't do that great of a job, so I'm not going to use the hand on a stick to pat you on the back, but you did pretty good job there, bro. So give you a little bit of love. You can ask kids if they need a hand. It's endless dumb dad jokes that you can do with these things.
Yep. Sorry, I'm looking for a question. There's lots of chatting going on in here.
There is. People aren't paying attention.
I know.
They're not listening.
John Lopez is asking, who is that man in the fellow in the picture behind you?
Oh, you mean this gentleman right here? Someone sent me this. A viewer gets things every once in a while. Actually, this big thing is from a viewer also. It's a piece of artwork, but this is the greatest fictional teacher of all time, Mr. George Feeney, who was on the show Boy Meets World. My students have no idea what that show is, and they ask me if this is my dad all the time. So sometimes I just tell them yes. And Mr. Feeney is, when my mom passed, I was 21 when she was sick. She died right after my 22nd birthday. And first, I went and lived with my aunt for a while. And my cousins would always watch Boy Meets World. And it was on twice a day after school. And on Fridays, it was on, back in the day, it was on 3 times, because on Friday nights, there was a new episode. There was something about that show that I so deeply connected with, because it was like a family that got along. It was like people loved one another. The answers to their problems were always answered by the end of the episode. And Mr. Feeney was always at the heart of that. And there was something about that just made me like, I loved it. I needed that in my life, because my life was not that. My life was a dumpster fire. And to watch that, it was something that like gave me so much hope, joy, and love in my heart that, I think Mr. Feeney is the greatest fictional teacher of all time. I've said that, I guess, somewhere in a video, and someone sent me his picture from YouTube.
All right, let's answer another question. Juliet is asking, what do you do about sleeping high school students? Do you ever encounter this in the pandemic world? Yes.
So there's a lot of things I do. So you can take this seriously, you can take it in a weird way. And I do things that I don't recommend other teachers do. You have to really know your students. And so that's everything in teaching, right? Like all the angry comments I've ever gotten on YouTube are someone that like doesn't get me, or they don't get that the relationship is already strong with my students. They're not rando things I just do to kids I don't know. So I use water pistols in school, and I think water pistols are a great idea. I don't get them anymore that look like guns. I get them because that just looks weird, but I get them that looks like a dolphin. And if you sleep in my class, I'll squirt your leg. And it's funny. But I know you on a deep level, so I know it's not going to be a problem. Someone's not going to explode or freak out or something like that. I put tape in kids' hair. Take a piece of Scotch tape, you loop it over on itself so it doesn't stick to your fingers anymore, and you glide it into people's hair. Because if you fall asleep in my class, bro, I'm going to put tape in your hair. So that's like silly ways I deal with it. Other times, it's really, and that's knowing your kids, right? That's knowing that someone's just being a smart ass and they're falling asleep in your class. Now, if I don't know what's going on with a kid, it always starts with curiosity. I don't get mad at kids. I don't like slam things on their desk or anything like that. It's getting down next to a kid and going, yo, you good? Are we good? Like, oh yeah, my bad, Ron. I just stayed up playing video games too much last night. Oh, well, in that case, if you do it again, I'm going to shoot you with a water pistol. Then that's where we go. Other times kids are like, yeah, I just don't feel well, or something's going on in my life, or I don't really want to talk about it. I'm just upset today. In those cases, I give kids a pass. All right, listen. So here's what's going to happen today. Come step in the hallway with me real quick. Everybody has a day or a couple of days that they just need a pass on, right? And if you feel like you just need a pass today, why don't you just go lay on the couch? Don't even lay on your desk. That's disgusting. Lay on the couch. You have the day off. I'll answer any questions that anyone has. And if someone comes in and this is only for my period, I can't give you off from other classes, but like come back during lunch or whatever, And I just give kids a pass. Sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes there's something going on and the kids are depressed and you have to really work on that sort of thing. Sometimes it's connecting kids with resources outside of the classroom, but it is, I'm not going to let you just do it on the front end. Now we do get to a place where, look, bro, you're just not doing work, or you just don't care, or you don't like school, or you're just trying to be like a pain in the butt. There are times when I just let those kids sleep because you are becoming a black hole of my attention. So I literally just like send an email home. Hey, just so you know, I try to wake your kid up. This is the process that we've gone through. These are the conversations that we've had. This is how I've tried to help. They refuse to stay awake. I just can't spend my time waking someone up in class, right? I'm like a personal trainer. You show up to the gym. I want you to want to work out. I'm going to try and make it the most dynamic, exciting experience that you want. But if you just want to sit down in the waiting room, I'm not going to try and win you over. Like I could try, but like after a while, like it's like, bro, when you're ready, let me know. But you're getting zeros for everything. So it's being very clear with parents and with students, like, here's what we're trying to do. Here's why we're here. Let me try and help you. And if you don't want that help, here's what's going to happen next. You're going to get zeros for things. They cannot be made up. If you sleep through a test, I'm not going to give it to you again. So it's like, it's always starting with love. It's then trying to use humor. And then it's like, all right, this is going to get real now. And then here's what this is going to look like going forward if you keep doing this. The end.
All right, let's hit our last question.
Let's do it, because the Eagles are on there playing
I
Washington.
know, by Truck Shepherd
Let's
is asking, I just started substitute teaching. I've done 4 days. How do I prepare to teach any subject, any grade? Is there a grade level that's easiest to start with? Any tips for someone who's brand new to it all?
So I think for me, I mean, there's a reason I teach ninth grade. And all of my students always go, how come you don't teach older kids? Because we have really good conversations with some of the older students. But like, for me, it's what grade did I need me in the most? And then who do I wish I had as a teacher when I was a kid? And so I try to embody those two things. So in ninth grade, I didn't speak almost my whole ninth grade year. I had no friends. I got beat up every single day in my ninth grade year. And I felt worthless and invisible. So that was the grade that I needed myself the most in. There were other grades I needed me in, but that was the one I needed the most. So I became a ninth grade teacher. And now I look for those kids and I try and be someone for them. I try to create opportunities, space, connection with other people. I try and fill the void that I wish was filled for me when I was a kid. So I think that's part of it. The other thing is, I don't know that there's easier grades. I think that's just for certain people. Like I think at a younger age, I could have taught elementary. I don't think I would enjoy that now, because I think the level of work that goes into that, there's a different kind of patience that you need for that. I think some people are geared towards certain grades better. And that's kind of my jam. So like, I feel like I'm in my niche right now. But so I think that is going to come with a level of intuition. It's you feeling out, like, where do you feel at home? In what classrooms? With what types of students? With what sort of behaviors? With snot and vomit. Like, are you good with that? Because then you can teach kindergarten. If you're not good with snot and vomit, maybe, middle school is where you should start, or something like that. Are you good with hormones? Because if you're not, then maybe 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, you should just jump right to 10th grade, because you're going to get a different type of student there. And then prepare for any subject, any grade. I think it's going in with love. I think love is the answer to everything in school. It's really showing up with a level of, I'm making everything about the students. I know that I can only make everything about the students if I put love into myself first. And if I just show up trying to think about, how can I make this day better? How can I make every room that I'm in? If I take responsibility, utter extreme responsibility for the energy that I bring into any room, into any situation, it's all on me. It wasn't because of the kids. It wasn't because of my wife. It wasn't because of the drive-in. I take responsibility for me on an extreme level, and then realize that I can affect the energy in any room, in any situation, in any conversation that I walk into. Now we're really playing with fire, because now you're on the hook, and now you realize that you have power. Not all the power, You can't win over everybody. You can't change every school. You can't change every situation. There's like, but you have a lot of times, I think we have more power than we realize. And when we pull from our strengths, I think that we are now playing with tools. We're showing up with the thing that we're the best at. And so that's how I would show up and try and make that situation better because you are a part of it. The end. So yeah. So look, before we go, right? In one of the things I keep drilling this home because I just think that it's so important. On January 22nd, in just a couple of weeks now, we are doing this Prioritize the You in Us workshop. I'm doing it with my friends at HMH. It is completely and utterly free. You can go right to the, I don't know what the hell I just did there. You can go right to the link that I'm about to put in the chat here and sign up for free. You can tell your friends, your PLC, your school, even if you know college students that are getting ready to go into education. What we're trying to do is help people not just survive the year, but thrive throughout the rest of the year, right? So it's going to be like this, but far more in depth and focusing on how do we help you to be the best version of a teacher this year that you can be. So that's it, gang. This is the first week of 2022 that we're back. Most of us are going back to school tomorrow. We have PD all day tomorrow, which is a nice kind of like toe in the pool before getting kicked off the high dive on Tuesday. But, my best to you going into the rest of this year. I hope that look, break's not over yet. Go relax for the rest of the day. I'm going to go watch a football game right now. I'm going to eat something. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to put my feet up and not think about school for the rest of the day. That's how I'm going out with this Christmas break that we just got through. So that's it, gang.
Someone said the link doesn't work.
Oh, shit. That's a problem. Let me
get you a new link. Now everybody gets to see you working and thinking.
This is me trying to do two things at once. Maybe
that one.
That. The link is also in my Instagram, under in my bio. There's like a link tree in there, and if you just go to Instagram, you can do it. I'm gonna post the link under this video too. I'm gonna go do that now.
And pin the comment.
Yeah, that's it, gang. Talk to you next week on Sunday. Damn it, I didn't have my thing ready, and then I'm trying to do this flawless transition like this. Hey, babe. See you next week.
Okay, that's weird.
This is weird.
Still not smooth.
But it's like when you get to the end and you just want to be smooth like
Okay,
this.
can we just say